For today's video, I have something brand new for you. You may or may not have heard of ChatGPT. Probably you have. This is the new player in town, AI, juiced up to the gills. You can do everything you want, including creating your own polymorphic malware. It is amazing. So in today's video, we will be leveraging AI to study for the CISA certification that comes in from CompTIA, and I have this page right here. So depending on where you are in your career, let's just say you have no experience in cybersecurity, well, that is perfect because CompTIA gives you the path, starting from ITF plus to your A plus to Network plus, Security plus. This is what we'll be taking a look at. CISA plus today, Pentest plus, and CASP. Again, this is not a sponsored video. Nobody's paying me to do this. I'm doing this for you. I highly suggest and recommend CompTIA certifications, and if you can do these in this particular order, please, just like with everything else, when you're building a house, you're not starting from the roof. Please start at the base. You're not going to be a pen test specialist overnight without having the security, the network knowledge. It's going to be impossible, and you're going to have so many gaps. Please start from the bottom. Start with ITF plus, A plus, Network plus, Security plus, and then one of these two, and then take your CASP plus. Another recommendation that I would have is, if you can, especially if you're trying to get into the industry and you have the time, please dedicate yourself at least 4 to 6 hours every day. Make it a habit. 4 hours a day, please. 4 hours a day, every day. 4 hours a day where you study for ITF plus, A plus, Network plus, Security plus. Trust me when I tell you, in this industry, it's all about certifications and experience. You have to have both, unfortunately. Yes, I know you don't have the experience. You will have the experience. If you don't have the experience, you have to compensate with some of these certs, and I'll make different videos with advice how to help you get a much clearer path. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so today we're here. I currently don't have a CISA plus. I do have my Security plus. I don't have my CISA plus. And I'll give you this resource right here. It's called Exam Topics. A lot of people know about it. Again, another harsh reality of the cybersecurity field is that everybody's doing test dumps. Test dumps meaning answers and questions that are online, and doing these over and over again versus studying the book and the material that is offered by CompTIA and other publishers out there. They just put it that way. And instead of getting the knowledge from the books, most people will go in and do the test dumps 50 times of the same questions over and over and over again until they pretty much memorize the answers. They go in, get the certification, and they move on to the next one. Why? Well, because you might be asked today to get certified in AWS. You do get one, you do get 2 certs, but then your company shifts to, let's say, Azure, or something happens, you have to learn for something else. Plus, you have to do your day-to-day job. It's a really stressful field. Believe me when I tell you, there's not a lot of time in between, and once you're out, you know, you're trying to disconnect yourself from the computer and forget about just everything that has to do with your job and going back to your office and doing the stuff that you have to do. So it's completely understandable why it's more of a test dump culture, and you do get the certification. The problem is if you do the test dumps, just know that the expectation is going to be there. If you have a security certification, you are going to be expected to know. If you have Security plus, if you have CISA plus, if you have CISSP, there's a standard, and there are going to be a lot of things that you will be expected to know how to do, and if you don't, you're going to have a problem. This is why, you know, basics, try to learn as much as possible. Do the test dumps after. Take your test, get your certification, and then you have the knowledge as well. Okay, So in today's video, back to the main point of the video is using ChatGPT. I've already have here ChatGPT, and as you can see, I've trained it a little bit. I've inserted a few questions, and it's really cool. So without further ado, let's just start with the first question. The security analyst is performing a diamond model analysis of an incident the company had last quarter. A potential benefit of this activity is that it can identify detection and prevention capabilities to improve, which systems were exploited more frequently, possible evidence that is missing during the forensic analysis, which analysts require more training, the time spent by analysts on each of the incidents. So this was a fairly easy one. This would be A, detection and prevention capabilities to improve. But let's just see what ChatGPT has to say about this page here. Whoops. Really? Okie dokes. Can we do this again? All right. A, detection and prevention capabilities to improve. There you go. ChatGPT with the win. Question 17. And please, if you don't know what this means, I'll try to provide some explanation to some of these questions. But don't worry about it. The main purpose of this is just to see how ChatGPT answers. An IT security analyst received an email alert regarding a vulnerability within the new fleet of vehicles of companies recently the company recently purchased. With the following attack, which of the following attack vectors is the vulnerability most likely targeting? So we're talking about a new fleet of vehicles. SCADA, CAN bus, Modbus, and IoT. Well, I think it's definitely not SCADA. SCADA is industry. With SCADA, you have to think about factories, things of that nature. CAN bus, I believe this is what's used in the automotive industry, either CAN bus or Modbus. I think it's CAN bus, and IoT definitely not. CAN bus, I think so. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say. CAN bus, no explanation, right? But I do believe CAN bus is used in the automotive industry. Question 18. An internally developed file monitoring system identified the following excerpt as causing a problem to crash often. char file data 100, fp equals fopen, bracket access.log, r srt copy file data fp printf file data. Which of the following should an analyst recommend to fix the issue? Okay, open the access log file in read-write mode, replace the str copy function, perform input sanitation, increase the size of the file data buffer. Okay. So an internally developed file monitoring system identified the following excerpt as causing a program to crash often. I would say B, and let's see what the community. Oh, this is a great question because the community split on this one. So please, exam topics is a great resource, but sometimes even the community answers. So this is the answer that the platform has suggested. There could be a different answer that the community people that are voting for these things, and they could be the real answer. So don't, it's a guide, but please don't, just because somebody said it's B and you don't believe it's B, that doesn't mean, please trust but verify, right? So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this particular one, and hopefully it gives us an explanation as well. It doesn't. So it says perform input sanitation. which could be a correct answer as well. So here, as you can see, there's a bunch of people that said B and D, but C is not an option. I would still stay with B, but ChatGPT might have the correct one, to be quite honest. If we look at the printf, the sends and file data, and you see the char file data of 100 characters, I'm not sure. If anybody has an answer, please do let me know. Question 19. A company's legal and accounting teams have decided it would be more cost effective to offload risks of data storage to a third party. The IT management team has decided to implement a cloud model that has asked the security team for recommendations. Which of the following will allow all data to be kept on a third party network? VDI, SAS, CASB, and FAAS. So in this question, I would put in, it's funny because with CompTIA, for example, for the Security Plus, which I took, everything that was cloud related, cloud model, cloud related, they always wanted you to answer with CASB. I would, so Cloud Access Security Broker, that's what it says in Software as a Solution, SaaS. The question is, which of the following will allow data to be kept on the third party network? Well, it could be B or C. And offload the risks. I think that's the key here. Offload the risks. I will still go with CASB, but let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this question. Ooh, look at that. So it says SaaS. SaaS is a cloud computing model where software application is provided over the internet and data is stored and managed by the provider. This meets the requirement of the legal and accounting teams to offload the risks of data storage to a third party. Boom. Great explanation. I would have to agree. I was wrong. It's not CASB, it's SaaS. This question, I'm not sure I will be able, because it's a picture, I will not be able to upload this. So let me go to the next page. All right, question 21. A security team implemented a SIEM as part of its security monitoring program. Is there a requirement to integrate a number of sources into the SIEM to provide better context relative to the events being processed? Which of the following best describes the result the security team hopes to accomplish by adding those sources? So a security team implemented a SIEM as part of its security monitoring program. So a SIEM, basically, just think of it, if you don't know what a SIEM is, it's pretty much, think of it as a software solution that does a lot of security monitoring, basically, right? There's a requirement to integrate a number of sources into the SIEM to provide better context relative to the events being processed. Okay, so that will be data enrichment. So what they're looking for is to point, so a SIEM collects logs. You have to just imagine this software solution that collects logs, that logs everything that something does, and you have to point it to the right source so it can log what that thing is doing. For example, EDR or something like that. But yeah, for this question, I would go with A. Most people said A. ChatGPT says A. It makes sense. All the other ones don't make any sense. Workflow, machine learning, continuous integration doesn't make sense. Question 22. Which of the following organizational initiatives would be most impacted by data sovereignty issues? Boy. Moving to a cloud-based environment, migrating to locally hosted virtual servers, implementing non-repudiation controls, encrypting local database queries. Move into a cloud-based environment, I would say. Hey. That would be most impacted because, okay, yep, ChatGPT would the win. Why? Because your move into a cloud-based environment is kind of self-explanatory. Then there's the question of data sovereignty. So I would have to agree, ChatGPT, I think it's a 10 for 10 so far. Okay, a help desk technician inadvertently sent the credentials of the company's CRM in clear text to an employee's personal email account. Ooh, that's an incident. InfoSec. The technician then reset the employee's account using the appropriate process and the employee's corporate email and notified the security team of the incident. What I tell you. According to the incident response procedure, which of the following should the security team do next? Contact the CRM vendor, prepare an incident summary report, perform post-mortem data correlation, update the incident response plan. Definitely don't update the incident response plan. Definitely don't do post-mortem data correlation. I would say prepare an incident report. B. Okay. The platform is saying D for whatever reason. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would I update the incident response plan based on this one incident that, I mean, you need to have lessons learned to update the incident response plan. Not sure why the platform is suggesting D. Most people put B, but let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this question where the answers are split. Prepare an incident summary report. Of course, you had an incident, you did the remediation, now it's time to do the incident report. I agree. ChatGPT. Which of the following is most dangerous to the client environment during a vulnerability assessment / penetration test? Interesting. There is a longer period of time to assess the environment. The testing is outside the contractual scope. There is a shorter period of time to assess the environment. No status reports are included with the assessment. So what is more dangerous to the client? So let's think about it. You have a business of, I don't know, you're selling chocolate. You're a chocolate factory. And you want to do a vulnerability assessment or a penetration test. What is most dangerous to you? That there's a longer period of time to assess the environment? Not really, because we're talking about a vulnerability assessment or a penetration test. How would that be dangerous? The testing is outside the contractual scope. Now, see, if you're not familiar with penetration tests or vulnerability assessments, but especially with penetration tests, you know there's ROE, rules of engagement, and that can sometimes, even though it's written in the contract, it can be a slippery slope where the pen tester could go outside of the scope, even though you put in a contract that, look, I want you to test this server, that server, and that server, leave the users alone. They may go beyond that, and that can create a situation. Moving to C, there's a shorter period of time to assess the environment. Again, you know, longer period of time, shorter period of time. A and C are very similar, and we'll eliminate them, and no status reports are included in the assessment. That is absolutely false. Vulnerability assessment and pen testing do include reports. That's what you do them for. Okay, again, the platform gives you C. I strongly believe that the answer here is whoops, didn't want to do that. I strongly believe that the answer here is B, and ChatGPT says B. Doesn't even bother to give us an explanation. Moving on to question 25, and I think this will be the last question. I think you get the gist of it. ChatGPT is extremely phenomenal so far, giving us examples. Sometimes it's just a dry answer, but still you can use ChatGPT against some test dumps, against some questions that you find online, to just cross-reference what you have and see what ChatGPT says about it. So last questions for this video. An organization is adopting IoT devices at an increasing rate and will need to account for firmware updates in its vulnerability management programs, so MDM. Despite the number of devices being deployed, the organization has only focused on software patches so far, leaving hardware-related weaknesses open to compromise. Which of the following best practices will help the organization to track and deploy trusted firmware updates as part of its vulnerability management program? Utilize threat intelligence to guide risk evaluation activities and implement critical updates after proper testing. Apply all firmware updates as soon as they are released to mitigate the risk of compromise. Sign up for vendor emails and create firmware update change plans for affected devices, and implement an automated solution that detects when vendors release firmware updates and immediately deploy updates to production. I would definitely eliminate that because you don't want to immediately deploy to production. Let's see, what else can we eliminate? Utilize threat intelligence to guide risk evaluation activities and implement critical updates after proper testing. That sounds pretty good. Apply all firmware updates as soon as they're released. Sign up for vendor emails. A or B? I would go with A. 100% the community says, but the platform says D. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say once again. And it says A. No explanation. Utilize threat intelligence to guide risk evaluation activities and implement critical updates after proper testing, like you're supposed to be doing. I can tell you for sure that this D is not correct. So this is what I'm telling you. It's a great platform. Some of the answers are wrong. Sometimes the community gets it wrong, but nonetheless, it gives you something, and it's free. They do have a paid version where supposedly they give you actual exam questions. Not so sure if those are like better questions or better formulated questions or actual questions or something like that, but hopefully you got some value out of this video. ChatGPT for the win. Beautiful stuff here, beautiful answers. It's amazing. Hope you got some value out of this video. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe.